for being with us live. We are also recording this session, and I am super excited for tonight's webinar. We have two great minds as it comes to not only media, but also live range days. And that's what we're here for tonight, is to kind of get into the nitty gritty of what it takes to produce a really successful range day style event. So hopefully you guys will be able to get a ton of information from tonight. As we walk through this whole thing, a couple little pieces of advice and pieces of information. You've got two sections and two ways to interact with your panelists tonight. One is in the chat section. So for those of you that have been with us the last couple minutes, that's the place that you want to go if you want to interact with other attendees. And in order to do that, just make sure your chat section is selected to all panelists and attendees. And then there's a Q&A section as well in that admin panel. If you have a specific question for Eric or Brandy tonight, that's where I want you to put that. I'm going to be kind of having eyes on both of them, but to keep it organized, any questions that you have for Eric and Brandy can go in that Q&A section rather than the chat section. So without further ado, we're going to get started with just a couple little intros. Now, this is an interesting audience for us because we have a really cool mix of people who already know about SDI, our students or graduates, and people that are coming from maybe the Iraq Veteran 8888 part of the world. So I'm going to introduce the SDI side first, and then we'll kind of talk through panelists and topic stuff. So for those of you who are unaware, Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school specializing in firearms specific coursework and programs. We have two main programs, the 32 credit hour advanced gunsmithing certificate and the 2-year Associate of Science in Firearms Technology degree program. They're both super cool. It's all online. You'll access all of your course materials via your online classroom. And then we ship tools and resources to your door. So the majority of the courses that you will take in either of those programs has some component of a hands-on process to it, whether that's a full lab or if it's just a piece of material that you'll be going through as part of that course. A lot of that is hands-on. If you have any questions at all about that, we encourage you to reach out to either the website, sdi.edu, admissions@sdi.edu would be a great email address to hit up, or you can call the campus. Any of those things are totally fine. And if you have any marketing questions or any questions after this webinar pertaining to this webinar, you can hit me up at marketing@sdi.edu. That's the whole spiel. I try to keep it really short, and I'm going to pitch it over to Eric. So tonight, like I said, we're going to be discussing how to create and manage and produce a really successful range day. Super excited to have Eric Blandford and Brandy Kerrison from Iraq Veteran 8888 on the line today. I almost added 2 more 8s at the end of that. So Eric, I'm going to pitch it over to you first, if you don't mind. Now we've got Eric on video, Brandy on phone. They're both live and with us tonight. So in case anybody is wondering who the third voice is, that's Miss Brandy. And Eric, I'm going to start with you to kind of go through who you are, what you do. I know you both have hands in everything, so I'd love to kind of have you catch us up on all of your various projects. And
okay,
thank you for being here as well.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you having me. And you know, the last thing we want to do is pander to the audience or milk the audience, right? So we're not going to do that here. I think a lot of folks, you know, they know what we're about, but you know, we've run a little YouTube channel. We've been at it for a long time. We're in about our 13th year now of producing content on YouTube, and it's been a really fun run, and we really enjoy what we do, and we really like to pride ourselves on the fact that we're politically active. So we kind of toe the line of being entertaining. We try to be entertaining, maybe, okay? We try to be politically active, and then we also try to educate. So those are the 3 pillars of how we run our channel, are those 3 concepts, and we try to just be ourselves, have fun, and enjoy what we do. And YouTube is primary purveyance for us in terms of getting our content out there. We're at about a little over 2.2 million subscribers on YouTube, 600 million lifetime views. So awesome. That's quite a few.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, you know, getting out to a lot of folks. And, you know, we've grown our Instagram and Facebook presence. And in terms of social media, we just try to have fun and do our thing. And I'm kind of an example of a guy that just sort of got into this for fun as a hobby in terms of doing the videos and everything. And it sort of blossomed into something that I kind of created my own position in terms of like a career. I know it's weird, but here I am. And
what an awesome way to make that happen, by the way. You know what I mean? I think that's like a dream of people to be able to say, you know what, if I could do anything in my life, I'm just going to go ahead and like wave my magic wand and do something that I love, you know? So that's super cool.
Yeah. And the thing is if you, if you get into a position where, let's say you think you're going to fail, right? Well, you've already failed.
Yeah, sure.
You've got to give it a try. You got to get out there and put yourself out there and do it, and follow your dreams. You know, don't let anybody tell you can't do it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And congrats. I mean, what you guys have accomplished is pretty amazing. So, Brandy, I'm going to bring you in. So we've got, you know, brains and beauty both here on the line tonight. Why don't you talk us through what it is that you do and what roles you have in the production and the business end of things?
Well, I have of course, I'm Eric's wife. I have a background in accounting and business. That's what I went to school for. And I also have a background in account management, customer service type roles. So I handle all the business end of the channel and also of the man cans that we do. I handle like all the customer service and all of the fan mail, the ones that I can answer. The ones that I can't answer, I get pushed through to the guys' emails.
Sure.
I also have my hand in the Ballistic Ink. I help manage the Ballistic Ink website and the content creators who have shops up over there. And I have a little bit of a hand in my son's business, so I basically help manage like 4 different businesses.
Yeah, you're like a business manager, a jack of all trades, you know? Crazy,
right, and
man.
I think I'm actually about to go back to school too. So.
Oh my gosh, that's nuts. So these two on the line, if you can't tell, are busy. We were talking about that earlier, and I know that that's a good way to kind of, those of us that enjoy that kind of fervor, that fever pitch, you know, that's a good thing. But I think you guys take it to the nth degree as far as that goes with all the different projects that you have going on. One of those big things that probably takes a ton of time throughout your year is this range day. So can you guys talk me through, and this can be either one, feel free to hop in and I'll help moderate, but tell me how this idea of a range day first came to be, like how did it blossom into what it's become, and how many years have you been doing it? Give us the little history on that.
Who's going to talk first, Eric?
Brandy, why don't you start us off?
Well, Eric, you can say like how you got the idea to do it, and then I'll follow up with the rest.
Perfect.
Well, I mean, it's one of those deals where when it comes to range day, we've always thought it would be a great idea to get all of these wonderful people together. And for us, I believe it was one of those things where you would get like one content creator down and do like some cross-promotional videos. Then you would get like another content creator down and do a couple of videos together. And it's like, wait a minute, let's get a bunch of people together, right? And there've been some like small events here and there, you know, throughout different parts of the country. But we wanted to put on something that would really just allow us to show solidarity as a group of content creators, and then also get together, you know, lots of like-minded companies that understand what we're about and what we're doing. And also it's a great way for the companies to sort of understand what we're about, like what the modern needs of social media types are when it comes to putting out content and the business end of things as well. So yeah, you know, just we wanted to create a place where all of us could get together and network and share ideas and put out great content. And ultimately, it's always been about serving the viewers and making sure that they're happy and they're getting great content. You know, that's.
Brandy, before you hop in, let me ask a question to the audience. For those of you listening tonight, how many of you, can you just say whether or not you have seen a video about their Iraq Veteran 8888 range day or are familiar with the concept, so that I know whether or not we have to dig in deeper, right? Yeah, or even have been to one of those things. So I just want to make sure we're not just talking about the range day, but not talking about the range day, you know what I mean? So if anybody in there does not know kind of what that looks like, let us know and we'll dig into a little of those details as well. But Brandy, do you want to kind of take it away from where Eric left off as well?
Sure. And keep in mind, folks, that I cannot see the chat. I'm on audio only. So if you have any specific questions for me, you'll have to, filter them through Jennifer.
Yep.
So we have had this range day so far 7 years in a row. I'm beginning to work on the 8th year. That'll be in 2020. I've learned a little bit of something each year. It grows exponentially each year. The first year we had probably right at 100 participants. And this past year, it was so rainy and nasty that I actually didn't get a good count, but I had around 500 something people that had RSVP'd.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how many people were at this range day. I know last year we had over 450.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of color to that, it looks like we've got a couple people that aren't super familiar with the event itself. So to kind of marry what Eric and Brandy have just talked about, this range day is a really cool kind of exclusive industry event where we bring in, as if I had anything to do with any of this, you guys, where Brandy and Eric and their team bring in content creators and manufacturers and firearms organizations and kind of put them all in a room and we all play nicely together, right? So in fact, let me stop there and then we'll kind of talk about who you pick too. Because with all of this explosive growth, I think it's super interesting how you guys decide who to invite and stuff. And I think that's a component to anybody who would be hosting this type of event. If you own and operate a shop or a range, or you wanted to do a range event, I'd love to dig in a little bit about, hey, I want to have a range day. Who do you invite? How do you make that decision? Either one of you guys can take that one. Brandy, you want to start?
I can speak to this one. Yeah. So our range day is invite only, and for the pure reason, mostly because if you have that many content creators together and all of the people that view those channels, it would be a massive event. And we serve lunch and dinner, and we give everybody a swag bag, and it would be, I just feel like it would be a pretty large event if we had fans and viewers of all of the collective channels trying to come to one location. I don't know of anywhere that might host that many people. Right. So right now, as of this time, we do it invite only for content creators and, vendors / sponsors.
And
the sponsors can be,
sorry, Brandy, go ahead, keep going.
I have a little bit of a lag from you guys, so we might talk over each other, and I apologize for that. Right now, it's usually people that we work with in the firearms community, and also some of the other content creators will suggest companies that they work with, so that we all get together and kind of do lots of cross promotions between not only just creators, but other companies as well. And it's an excellent opportunity for the vendors because they get to meet not only the people that they currently work with, but other content creators that they might not have worked with in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, you have something to add to that?
I'll just add also that with the range day too, it's a great way for companies to also inter-network within each other as well. So, I can't tell you how many times I hear of company A going, man, I didn't know company B existed. And then all of a sudden now they're working out a deal where company B is making like an OEM part for company A, accessories or, there's so many examples that I don't want to, bore everybody with citing those examples, but there's lots of examples where companies wind up working together that they didn't know, each other existed. So it's a good networking thing for company to company, content creator to company, and content creator to content creator. It's kind of a triad there of relationships. And, also too, if I may be selfish and say this, it is a great opportunity for many of us to see each other, right? Because we're so busy throughout the year that sometimes some of these content creators, the only time, and companies, the only time they get to see each other is at range day. So it's almost like a huge business meeting where everybody can get together and have a great time and talk about, what's going on, but then also see each other, right? Because you're talking to these people on a regular basis, you're doing things with each other, you're working with each other's content, and you don't always get to see each other face to face. So it's just a great face to face for people, even if it's just once a year, to say hello and chat. And, you know, people act different in person than they do when they're on a phone or over email.
Absolutely.
And
go
also,
ahead,
it's almost like a giant family reunion for a lot of us, just because we have worked with these people for so many years, like companies and other creators, that we've just built this, you know, friendship and almost like family, like, you know, connection with each other. Yeah. So it's almost like a giant family reunion, and each year we get like new members of the family.
I know. The vibe there is super cool. And for those of you that are thinking of having an event like this, what's interesting to me would be, I'd love to hear, if you ever do this, what your latent takeaways are, right? So, you know, oh, well, I for sure want to increase exposure to my facility. Let's say that's your goal. All of these things that Eric and Brandy just talked about, I think, are just as valuable, and they're things that you wouldn't normally think of as goals or takeaways. It's a really unique experience, and a lot of stuff that you can get out of it. Now, Kenneth down in the Q&A section said, so Arrange Day is mostly a media creator collaboration day involving more than just like 2 media creator people with a few manufacturing reps thrown in. And that's a great question. I think you can define Arrange Day in a lot of different ways. So if we could kind of talk through maybe the evolution. I think for you guys, obviously, it was always going to be about bringing content creators and vendors together. There are a lot of different types of range days, but I think the general gist of it is that some sort of networking equilibrium, right? Do you guys want to talk through that question at all about kind of what a range day could be or is? What would you?
Well, for some people,
yeah.
I think that, you know, it may be where they want to bring people into their business, which, you know, say if it's a range and they have a range day, they want people to visit the range, try out their facilities, and kind of get to know the range. For other companies, like for instance, let's just say if it's an AR manufacturer or a shotgun manufacturer, or even suppressors or something like that, they might have a suppressor only range day, and they're trying to bring people out to the range to test the products, the latest and greatest products. And for us, it's kind of a, let's put all these people together and cross promote, you know, this company or that creator or whatever. And Eric can add to that if he would like.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of times what ends up happening is we have smaller creators that will try to kind of help them grow their presence a little bit, because we don't know if a smaller creator, and Frank was asking a question earlier. He's like, what's a creator? I'll just briefly say, like, creator, when we're talking about content creator, we're talking people that are producing YouTube videos to put on YouTube, or maybe they're putting photos out on Instagram. They're putting photos, blogs, articles, videos out on Facebook, Twitter, all of those different social media outlets. Yeah, podcasts. I mean, there's so much different media that these people are creating, Frank, and they're reaching a large audience of folks. And what makes these audiences, not to jump on too much of a different vein, but I'll just mention, Frank, what makes these audiences so much different than like mainstream media, okay, for one, mainstream media, but then also something like TV shows or whatever, is that people seek out this content, right? So you're searching for something online and you come across a piece of this content that one of these creators has put out. And then what happens is somebody goes, wow, cool, I like that. And then they subscribe to that channel. It's kind of like subscribing to a news feed or following your favorite TV channel, right? That's the best way to think of a YouTube channel, is like a TV channel, right? So when people follow that channel, then they're following the content that that person's putting up. So that's when we say content creator, people that are creating media for the firearms industry. And more importantly, right, when we say firearms industry, they're also creating media for you, right? For everybody, for all the people that want to consume that media, because those people are following those content creators for that media, right? No matter what that media might be. I could put up a video playing with my dogs. You guys would probably watch it as long as we're having fun.
Right.
And that's what it's all about, is those human interactions is what we're really more concerned about sharing. Firearms, yes, are hugely important for many, many reasons, but it's those human interactions. It's that fun that we have together and those memories we create that far exceed the tools we use to achieve that goal. Firearms are just a really fun footnote of the entire question at hand here.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a community growth component to this. So we always find, in fact, one of the questions during the registration process for this event was, do you have are you creating content in some way? Do you have an account in some way, shape, or form? Everybody ping in here, if you don't mind. Go into the chat and let me know, do you have a YouTube channel or an Instagram account or something like that that you are curating content on, not just like my own personal Instagram account that is there something that you have some sort of strategy or goal pertaining to content? Do you have anything like that? And what is it? If you want to share it out in that chat, we can all give each other a little bit of love in there too. So feel free to put in the chat there if you are a content creator currently of any way, shape, or form. I saw a dude in there that just said he had 3 Instagram followers. You got to start somewhere. Feel free to put it in there. Okay, so I know that a big question that I got leading up to this event, Eric and Brandy, has to do with things like the business end, like the legalities of things, permitting, safety. Brandy, I'll probably go to you on some of that. What are the types of things that people would need to think about if they wanted to host an event like a range day?
Well, our first range day was on a private property, and it was just some guy's pasture out in BFE, Georgia. And so I actually got in touch with the local fire department, police department, the government. I made sure I didn't have, if I needed to have a special event permit or if I didn't, it just so happened I did not because it was on private property. But I notified all the law enforcement and the fire department as well to let them know that we were going to be making a lot of noise, and there was going to be some booms. We had some low velocity binary explosions and stuff like that, and also to keep the fire department alert that there could possibly be a fire hazard if if a fire happened and where we were going to be and things like that. After that first year, we had the event at ranges. We went to Red Hill Range in Martin, Georgia, and this past one was at Arena down in Blakely. And they usually have pretty good relationships with the local law enforcement and fire department and government to where they kind of take care of that stuff for us. The only time I've ever had to get a permit since I started working with the ranges was a food service permit for the event, because we had someone that was providing the food that wasn't an actual caterer. They were a business owner for a food company. It was Bear Creek Cattle Company. And I always give him first dibs because he has excellent food. But he hires a chef, and then they come out there usually and cater our events. So I had to get a food service permit for him. Other than that, I don't have to deal with any of the permits, or I do have to get like event insurance usually, like $1 million worth of event insurance. That's so that if something was to happen, say if somebody's car was damaged, or Lord forbid, if someone got injured or something like that, it could help cover those costs.
Okay, great. I think that's probably a great place to start. Any idea where people would look for that kind of thing? Event insurance particularly?
I'll be honest with you, it was difficult. It was really, really hard.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Because it was a firearms event, nobody wanted to insure me, but there was a place locally in Blakely that dealt with Blakely before the arena complex, and they were able to get me the policy, and it was just for that weekend.
Okay. And I'm assuming those of you, oh, sorry, Brandy. My assumption is that those of you that already have a business that is looking into doing a range day or thinking of having a business that would be doing a range day, you may just want to start with your insurance company. Your business will have insurance. That will be part of your business process, and see maybe that if you want to look into that route, maybe you start there and see what their referral process would be for something specific to an event. But Eric, did you have something to add to that?
Very quickly. Okay. All I'll say is that if you're a company that's looking to just put on a big bash, whether you're a content creator, whether you're a firearms manufacturer, whether you're a gunsmithing operation, no matter what you're doing and which angle you're coming at it from, I would strongly recommend a venue that's already set up as a range And then the venue, of course, they're going to know, like, to contact all the authorities. They're going to know to contact the fire department. They're going to know to contact anybody they need to contact. They're going to know about event insurance. They're going to be familiar with that process. They're going to have the companies in line already. They're already going to have the ranges set up. So in terms of all of that, and then, of course, if food service permits are required, all of those things, the range will generally have a pretty strong idea of what needs to happen and what doesn't. So logistically, that's a pretty straightforward thing to take care of.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's a great place to start. Awesome. What about Brandy Summit? You mentioned kind of the food and beverage piece to it. What is that? What decisions need made on that front? Food and beverage, swag, other kind of accoutrements for the people that are going to be attending this event. What are some of the thought processes?
So, I do an RSVP. I do an online RSVP form that I have attached to like a hidden page on my website. And basically I ask, okay, are you a content creator? Are you a vendor? How many people are you going to bring? What are your shirt sizes? Because I always make t-shirts for everybody that attends the event. So that helps me get the number of t-shirts I need to buy, of how many sizes, of how many people I'm going to feed, because we usually do lunch and dinner the day of the main event. So, you know, I need to know if I have to feed 300 people or 500 people. So that RSVP, even though I have to chase people down the last couple of weeks and say, okay, are you coming or are you not coming? I mean, if you're going to come, I have to feed you. But sometimes that's the most difficult part of the whole thing, is just getting people to RSVP and tell me who's coming. And I have people that will switch. Oh, this person's not coming, but this person's coming. Okay, that's fine. That's great. Now, let me change their size or whatever. And I usually err on the side of caution and order a little more than what I get RSVPs for. And then, you know, at the end of the event, whatever's left over, I take home and store in my freezer and give out to my family and stuff. But
I believe that. All those t-shirts are in your
might not do that.
Just kidding.
Pardon me?
I said all those t-shirts.
Come on over. I got deer meat, barbecue, buns and hamburgers and hot dogs.
I believe it. They always do such a nice job too out there. And I'm sure that's a difficult step to make. You know, when you're doing these range days and everything, it's got to be tough to figure out how many people do I tell the event space that we're going to have before we know that the answer to that question. You know what I mean? Was that difficult for you guys when you were first starting out to kind of gauge?
Well, I usually start off with, hey, this is how many I had last year, and I expect to have exponentially this many more this year. So for the first 3 or 4 years, each event grew by about 100.
Okay.
Once I got to about the 400 mark, then I think the next event was like 450, and then 5, and then 550. You know, I mean, the first couple of years we're pretty much doubling, but then it kind of slowed off, because once you get a large number of people, then it's kind of so many people that come from your last event and then the new people. So like I said, I had a little over 500 RSVP for this year's event. I don't know how, like I said, I really don't know how many people showed up, but there was quite a few there.
Quite a few.
And it always looks like it's not as many as I get, but the last year we were up at Red Hill, I think you were there.
Yeah.
There was 450 something people there. And to look at the people there, you wouldn't think that. But
it's because you're in such a big space, you know, that if you just like look at pockets, you're like, oh my God, there are 25 people right there in that little tiny pocket. And then you're all spread out over over a big space. So I definitely see how that could be deceiving for sure. But there were a ton of people there.
So I generally start with last year's attendance, and I tell the venue, okay, I had 450 this year, or this past year. I think that I'm probably going to have 500 to 550, you know, this year, and then we go from there.
Okay. Terry in the Q&A is asking, what type of agenda does a range day typically have? Like, is there a formal business piece, or is it more of a relaxed business on the side type of event? I think that's super appropriate for right now. And I think that will vary, but Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yours? You know,
I'll very quickly bounce back to the previous question, and then we'll go to that question. So beans and bullets, right? It's the easiest way to think about a range day. It's just like you would plan military exercise, right? So, you know, people got to have a certain amount of water to drink. You know, when I go to a shoot, right, I want to have like food for people to eat. I want to have water for people to drink. I don't want people to be uncomfortable. I want them to be happy and content. So we always calculate water consumption for the average adult, and then we add like, 15 or 20%, just in case. I'm always like very methodical in making sure there's enough water, factoring in snacks for everybody. So in terms of like the logistics of planning beans and bullets, as we would say, but food and water, that's really not a big deal. You can get on there and figure out what average water consumption is and then just order water appropriately. That's no big deal. But it's just, but it is really interesting when you're ordering like several pallets of water and energy drinks, and it's pretty cool. It's basically, imagine planning a party for your buddies, but instead of it being 10 of you, it's 500 of you. There you go. You're there.
Exactly. The hydration is important.
So let's talk about goals, right? You mentioned like, okay, what is that? What is the goal, right? So it's not one of those deals where we go into this with some huge plan. Like planning the event, yes, is the plan, and we get everybody there. But we try to sort of just let people do what they want, right? I don't want content creators or companies to feel pressured. I want people to go in there and have fun, shoot guns, make content, take their Instagram photos, take their videos. Hey, maybe this guy that makes videos, and let's just say a content creator goes, wow, I've never seen this gun before. Now he's exposed to something he's never seen before. Or maybe these companies go, wow, we didn't know this guy was making content. Hey, we would love to send you something to evaluate or whatever, right? So we let it be a networking thing within the confines of what those people just want to do. Like, it's a really open idea, and we try not to pressure anybody, right? We don't tell any content creator, hey, you have to make content. No, screw that. They can do whatever they want, right? If they see something cool, they want to take a photo, they can take a photo. If they want to make a video, they can make a video. Or if it's something where maybe it's a writer for a blog or something, and they've got to do something more intricate, all right, well, then they can get with that company and then maybe, get a test unit sent out or whatever, no big deal.
Yeah. So not a huge, there's not big pressure on making it so planned out that it kind of squashes everybody's individual needs and requirements.
You don't want it to feel like work, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we work enough in our everyday lives. Like, honestly, what I do, I try not to even, I don't treat it like work. I love what I do.
Yeah.
Right. So my grandpa told me back in the day before he passed away, hey, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So I don't think of it like work, but the last thing we want to do is turn it into something that feels like work. I feel that people perform best when they're in a real no pressure situation. They can just show up and be people, right? And have fun and develop relationships, because social media, as we call it, guess what? The word social's in it, right?
It's in there.
So you have to socialize. You got to get out there and you got to make contacts. You got to put connections together. You got to connect the dots, and you figure out where all these people kind of fall in to their given categories and where their strengths can be applied to content to put out the best possible product to make the viewers happy. Because remember, this is not about us, right? We're not extrovert people that are, now some people out there taking selfies, but I'm the kind of guy, when I look at these events, I think, okay, how can I make my content the best that it possibly can be to make my viewers happy? That's all I care about, is making my viewers happy.
Right. That's such a good point too. I've seen a little bit of back and forth in the chat about content creation, and I know that that's not the true topic of this, but because it's such a key point of your type of range day, do you have any tips, tricks, etc., anything that you can share with the people on the line that you have found to be super engaging content, or something that they would definitely want to do if they were to attend a range day or host a range day, as it pertains to content particularly?
Well, I would say take the chance to get pictures and take videos, especially with like your favorite people that you don't get to see very often. So you always see these like photos that people are taking, and they got to see their favorite person that they don't, or maybe they met somebody that was really like famous within their world that they never, got to meet. And of course, like, always take photos, shake hands, meet people, exchange information, because it's not necessarily what happens at range day that is super, super meaningful. It's what happens after. It's the relationships you develop. It's the things you make happen. and kind of moving and shaking and making things happen. Now, in terms of actual content creation, I will briefly mention this. Our friend Barry at Crazy Quail, I know Barry's not here, but I'll just give him a quick shameless plug. Barry at Crazy Quail had some great ideas for ways for content creators to kind of break off the firing line a bit and go back to like what we would call a media tent. So like if you want to do a quick interview with someone that owns a company, let's say somebody comes and they've got this really cool gun and maybe you don't know much about it, but maybe you want to learn more. So yeah, the content creator and the company, they could just break away, go to the media tent, have a well-lit area where they could do a quick spiel on something if they wanted to, just for the informational aspect of it for the viewership of the content creator. Cool. So I can encourage people to do that, and lots of folks do.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to see people get creative with that kind of thing too. Now, Kale down in the Q&A said, at your range day, do you set up a small shooting games, or is it more of a free-for-all? And while we have talked about how it is kind of more free-flowing, do talk about things like Mad Minute and like Tannerite and stuff like that tend to be kind of those, you know, those rally cries that everybody wants to be at a certain time.
We can't say Tannerite. It's low velocity binary.
Thank you. Sorry.
Right.
Daniel Tanner would get angry.
Sorry.
I think it's safe to say that everybody loves seeing things blow up. Who doesn't love explosions? Who doesn't love machine guns? And who doesn't love getting a lot of them together at one time and everybody shooting all at once? So obviously, you know, we like to get everybody on the line and do our Mad Minutes and get lots of, you know, stuff, you know, barrels heating up and everything. And, you know, we like to see stuff blowing up. I mean, who doesn't love a nice explosion? And that's just great content for people to put out there and show solidarity. And it's one of those things where you start seeing your feed and everything's popping up. And you've got all these different content creators showing like this huge 200-pound explosion that just occurred. You know, that's just cool. It's a great way for us to all kind of, we were there, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those things are really key pieces to this, and they're just such easy, especially for maybe some of those smaller audiences. It seems like such a no-brainer to post that. You know what I mean? And we're at SDI, we have social media accounts, and they're smaller audiences than a lot of you bigwigs, you know, but those are the ones that everybody loves to see, because who doesn't want to watch a Mad Minute? Who doesn't want to watch something blow up? Who doesn't want to watch a machine gun? So I think it's nice to have those little bits and pieces throughout your day, to almost structure it a little bit without being, you know, smothering as far as an agenda goes. What do you think, Brandy?
I think that we've always had a very kind of loose agenda. Like, I don't even usually put start and stop times, but I think in the future I'm going to, because I get asked that question quite a lot.
Sure.
But for somebody else who's wanting to plan an event, if they want to draw people in, say, for their business or for their product, it's always a good idea to showcase something, especially if you're inviting the public, to showcase something that they can't see every day or they can't shoot or experience every day. So that's why, like, bringing out the machine guns, you know, not everyone has a machine gun. So bringing out the machine guns or bringing out the suppressors or bringing out some big artillery piece, like not everybody has a 50 cal. And so letting people experience those things will make them have a better time and a better outlook. And it's fun for people that don't get to experience those things. So that's a good way to draw people in. And then also, like, doing drawings and door prizes and stuff like that. It's a plus for both sides, because if you're the consumer and you get to win a cool prize, that's good for you. And if you're the person putting on the event and your goal is to say, to get people for a mailing list, well, every person that enters that prize drawing, you now have their email address, phone number, name, possibly their mailing address. So you're able to get the information you need, and then they also get something in return, and it makes it fun for them.
That's a great point. I'm so glad you brought up the door prize and the almost like a lead collection component to that. For those of you who are looking at this from a business side and thinking about whether or not this might be something that you would want to do down the line, that's a really important piece to this, is to make sure that you're capitalizing on registrations and things like, you know, people putting their name in the hat for door prizes and stuff. That's a really big, good sales funnel thing for sure. I'm glad you brought that up. Now, Kenneth has asked, and this is a great question to kind of close the loop. So we've got all these people doing all these things at this range day, talking, shooting, doing all the videos and everything. Do you make everybody sign like a model release form? Like, I am okay to exist in video, kind of giving permission to appear in various videos, or do you just hope some sort of non-consensual AV problem won't arise? Like, how do you combat that? Because everybody's going to show up in the background of a shot at something.
That's right.
I have waivers, and everybody has to sign the waiver, and this is what I do personally. I don't know if this works for everyone. Some people do like hand stamps or whatever, but I actually get either those little plastic bracelets or kind of like the little bracelets you get if you go to, I don't know, kind of like the hospital or a fair or something like that. But I have to make sure that every single person that gets past that registration tent has a waiver signed. So the way I do that is once I see you have a waiver, or, I did electronic waivers this year, so I had a big long list of who already had their waiver signed, which was almost everyone. So when you came up and you got your ID badge and you got your swag bag and all that, I put a thing around your wrist that says, hey, I have a waiver. And I say, look, if we catch anybody without one of those on, because we had lots of RSOs and we had lots of staff out there walking around, you get sent out to leave. Yeah. And so in that big, I had, our lawyer drew up this big long contract, this waiver that says, you're in a shooting event and there's these dangers, and also, people are recording, and, yes, you could be in some photographs and stuff like that. So it's all included in the waivers.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say also that if somebody's attending this event, especially as a content creator, they know that people are taking pictures and videos. So it's kind of a almost unwritten rule amongst all of us. I mean, trust me, we know. Like, we're not going to put someone in a video that doesn't want to be in one. We're not going to take a photo with somebody that doesn't want their picture taken. I mean, it's sort of just universally known amongst content creators, not to cross the line. They know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but not every event is going to be for just content creators, Eric. So some of this is for other reasons as well. And that's but the waivers are very important because it kind of protects everybody involved.
Definitely. Yeah. How difficult, oh shoot, I want to do staffing first. Brandy, you were just talking about staffing, and Eric, and RSOs. Talk me through the logistics of that. How many people do we need per how many attendees? Who's doing what? How do you make those decisions?
Really and truly, it's mostly family, friends, and volunteers. All of the people that help me at the admin tent, they are, let's see, I think it was me, Chad's wife, my two sons' girlfriends, and my best friend, Allie. And that group of people have been working together for now a couple of years, and we work together really well. So I feel like that's a really good admin team. We also have, both of my sons work the event, as well as our employee, John. And then we get volunteers from, people that we're close to, mostly friends of ours, and a couple volunteers from other content creators. They'll come and help and offer a hand. So, it's people you can trust, and that they're going to do a good job. And then as far as the RSOs go, Moss Pond really went out of they went above and beyond this year and helped me gather up a good bit of RSOs. And I had sent a couple of people myself to train for RSOs so that we would be adequately covered as far as that goes. And so they did a really good job this year. But
they were hustling out there.
We know.
Yeah, it's a constant stream of activity with you, the whole team out there. So.
Oh yeah, I think Brandy might have got jumped off the call here. She might have to call back in. I'll just add there that when it comes to the RSOs, you're going to leave that pretty much up to whatever range you end up using. So if you wind up commissioning your event through the actual range, they're going to know what their needs are for RSOs. For their individual range and what they have to have for the amount of people. And a lot of times those ranges will have RSOs already that are used to working in range anyway. So you can always just bring on those types of people. Usually the home range will have people that they already use for that. But it doesn't hurt if your organization is large enough, let's just say if you've got a large company, or even if you're a small company, to just go get the RSO certification on your own. And it never hurts to have extra RSOs. So those needs are going to vary depending on the venue and the amount of people. And sometimes those needs might change based on the amount of people that the insurance company requires. So if you have an insurance policy is taken out for event insurance, then they may say, okay, for X amount of people, we need X amount of ROs, or for X amount of line space, we need X amount of ROs. It just depends. Generally speaking, usually the venue is going to know exactly how many ROs they need and where they need to be.
Okay, awesome. And one more on staffing. Any idea for you, let's just do for you guys, about how much time would a person, you know, if they wanted to do something along the lines of what you're doing, a lot for setup and tear down? Any, I'm sure it depends on the location.
We do get a lot of volunteers who come to the range early, because I always tell everybody for our event, okay, the event is on Saturday and Sunday. On Friday, we're going to set up, and on Sunday afternoon, or, you know, we're going to tear down. So a lot of times we have a lot of folks, content creators and companies, that will come early and actually help us set up. So the setup usually goes pretty quickly, and Eric can speak a little bit more on it. And then the tear down is it's actually a lot faster than you think. The cleanup sometimes is the hardest part, especially in the mud.
Sure.
But
I'm sure that
Eric,
was no fun.
The setup and the tear down is a quasi-military operation. I mean, we've gotten very efficient at it now. You know, if it's your first time putting on an event, all right, imagine that you're getting together with your buddies and you're having a shindig at the house, and you put up a canopy and you break out the grill and you set up some tables and chairs and you're having fun. All right, just think about that for a second. You know, you might get a couple of hands together and make that happen in about 20 or 30 minutes. Now just do it 80 times.
Right.
And then multiply. It's basically just like hanging out with your buddies and having a great party, but you're just doing it on a much bigger scale. So, you know, you get some hands together, you get a little assembly line going, put up any necessary tents, tables, banners. I would say setup, we probably end up having anywhere from 8 to 12 man hours in it. Tear down, we can usually have tear down accomplished in about 8 hours. And I would say, all right, for instance, on this, our most recent range day, I want to say the total amount of hands that we had tearing down, I want to say we had about 8 people.
Okay.
And it took us 6, 7, maybe 8 hours on the top end. And that's getting trash picked up. That's getting, you know, everything put back to normal, picking up shotgun shells, brass.
Oh,
everything.
all the brass. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, we clean up everything.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's super helpful.
And then I think we had 30-something canopies, and they're the 10 by 20 canopies, and we put those up. We had, I think, 150 chairs and I think 100 tables. So, and those are the folding up tables you have to unfold and everything. So, And then I have somebody go around and label the tables where everybody is going to be, so that when the vendors get there, they know which spot is theirs. Based on their needs, you know. And this particular range we went to last year was based on what distance they wanted to shoot.
Right.
Because we had anywhere from 200 meters to 1,000 yards.
Right. It's a ton. I mean, that's a ton of, and for those of you who are thinking, oh my gosh, scale that to what your needs are. You know, I mean, you may not need 30 tents and 500 people and all of that, but definitely, I mean, that the key takeaway for me off of that was get as many friends and family members and volunteers as you can. Like, many hands make light work type of deal as a strategy.
And I would say one of the most important, go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just going to add that not only that, but it's important too that when you approach these venues about your event, just be very honest and forthcoming about what your intentions are. That's a very important thing. Like, don't show up with something that's going to be unexpected for them. Like, if you plan on blowing up 500 pounds of binary every 20 minutes, you need to tell them, okay?
Right.
Or, hey, if you're going to bring 50 belt-fed machine guns, you probably need to tell them. And it's not that they have a problem, but they just want to make sure that they can accommodate you. So as long as you're forthcoming with your intentions, you're not going to have a problem.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I always warn the venues too, like, look, we're going to be making a lot of noise. Are there any neighbors that we need to watch out for?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for instance, Red Hill Range was really near a church. So on Sunday mornings, we always did things very quiet so that we weren't disturbing the people at the church, because, you know, we don't want to make anyone in the surrounding neighborhoods, you know, uncomfortable or upset.
Sure.
You know, and things like that. So those are always things that I work with on the vendors as far as
Mm-hmm.
the noise levels and stuff like that.
Great note, for sure.
Yep.
I know we're winding down here. I do want to, there are two other things that kind of a lot of people have asked about. So I'll pitch both of them out here, and then we can kind of figure out how we want to attack them. One talks about the cost behind this. How do you fund something like this? How do you decide what you're going to spend on it? How do you get money to offset it? And then the other one is similar, but not quite. How difficult is it to get manufacturers to attend these types of days? Like, how does that process work? How do you get sponsors on board? So it all kind of bleeds together, but do you guys want to talk through that at all? Brandy, do you want to start?
Okay. I wasn't sure if Eric was going to say anything. So basically those two things go hand in hand,
Mm-hmm.
because the sponsors for the event, they pay the fees for the tables or the booth areas so that I can use those funds to buy the food, to buy the table rentals, to buy canopies or anything
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, we need, the promotional materials and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to depend on what size event that you're looking at as to
Mhm.
how many sponsors you're going to have, or how many people need to be, like, for instance, how much each sponsor is going to pay. So you basically just kind of have to do almost like a budget for planning a party, but it's just a really large party. So you kind of have to call people, get prices on things. Hey, if I got this many people, is there any price break for this? Or, you know, things like that. But as far as who to get for the sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
I'll let Eric talk a little bit, but for most part, we use the people, like, it's people that we work with. And then,
Mhm.
like I said, people that some of the other creators work with. If you're a gun store, I guess you would be using people that you carry their products or whatever. So, Eric, you have anything to add?
All right, so I'm going to sort of let you in on some secrets here, and
Uh-oh.
maybe it's common knowledge to some people, but look, here's the thing. When it comes to putting on a range event, we put on our event and we get lots of folks within the social media realm to come to these events. And please don't, if anyone's watching, please don't take this the wrong way, okay? There's a big difference between inviting the public to a range event and inviting a bunch of content creators that work within, you know, the realm of that particular idea. In this case, firearms, right? So if you're putting on an event where you're going to invite the public to the event, it's a much different conversation of trying to get companies to come out with that. Because don't get me wrong, companies want to demo their products for average people, but listen, I'm an average person. I didn't mean for that to come out that way. But what I'm saying is the general public is what I'm referring to.
Uh-huh.
There's a very different conversation when you're trying to give someone in the general public a machine gun and say, here
Right.
you go shoot it.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to get companies to be on board with the idea of letting 150 strangers come up to their line and handle a machine gun. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different thing when it's industry, and gosh, I hate that word industry, but when it's gun industry, and what we mean is like companies, vendors / content creators, we're all people that are established, we're around guns, we know each other, there's a familiarity there. I mean, we all know about guns, we're safe handling guns.
Mm-hmm.
When you introduce the public aspect to it, it can get a little bit tricky getting people involved, because some gun companies go, you know what, I ain't about to bring a machine gun and let 150 strangers potentially rip a mag of ammo. I'm not saying purposely, but, you know, there's that bit of liability there that they're worried about and everything like that. Now, I'll segue back to the original question.
Yeah.
And everything like that is, if you are a gun company, let's just say, you know, whatever, a gunsmithing operation, in the case of SDI, you know, you're a graduate, you've got a gunsmithing operation, and you'd like to put on a big party for your, you know, similar companies to yours to get together and share ideas and everything like that. I would just suggest, you know, looking for like-minded companies, right? So either look for people that are within your realm, and okay, if you're within a certain aspect of the industry, you may not want to have like too much competition. Okay, I understand like not wanting to invite your competition, but like Brandy said, if you're a distributor, let's say you want to put on a range day for all of your people that you buy from, right? If you're a distributor, obviously you buy from brand A, brand B, brand C. Well, then what you would do obviously is just get together and go, hey, we've got to make sure we're controlling costs. Now, I'll say when it comes to controlling costs and making sure you've got enough sponsorship dollars to cover the cost of the event, it doesn't matter if it's a large distributor, or in our case, you know, we're getting content creators together and everything like that, or any other aspect. Let's just say even SDI, right? If SDI said, hey, we're going to put on an SDI specific range event, you know, you're obviously going to bring in more money than what the event requires to put on. So, I mean, you do make a few bucks, but the thing is, it is a lot of logistics on the back end. It takes Brandy several months to put this event together and to organize it and to make sure that everyone that shows up can just have a wonderful time and really enjoy themselves. So, yeah, you know, we factor in our time into the cost as well. So I would make sure that, you know, whether you're putting on a small event with just about, you know, 10 or 12 companies and crew, or whether you're putting on an event that involves, you know, 60 or 70 companies and 150 content creators, make sure that the logistical time that you've put in, the physical time into the logistics that you put in, definitely make sure that you're factoring in your time expenditure, because it's a very, very all-encompassing thing to put on. It takes a lot of preparation for it to go off without a hitch.
Yeah, absolutely. What a cool little segue back to the beginning too, when you were talking all about networking, right? So that's, I think, a really great way for some of our attendees tonight who are smaller scale or just starting out, or this would be their very first foray. Those partners, is that networking component to it sounds like it's important even from minute one, conceptualizing something like this. And that's super interesting. Last follow-up question here, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. From an attendee perspective, is there typically a registration fee as well, or anything like that? We know that the manufacturers and the sponsors are kind of funding the event. Is it typically free to the attendee event, or could it be either way? You know what I mean?
Brandy, you want to take that, or you want me to handle it?
Yes. So for our event, we don't charge the content creators. We only charge the vendors.
Yep.
Because basically the content creators are going to be adding value to the vendors. You know, in a roundabout way, it's almost like they want the content creators there because they're going to be spreading the word about their products.
Yep.
In other situations, we've attended other events, I think, where say the general public is coming to an event and they have to pay a small fee, and that fee helps fund, I guess, their meal or, you know, the ammo for the event and stuff like that. So in those situations, I kind of think that also weeds out maybe somebody who is serious about attending the event as opposed to somebody who's just trying to go get a free meal or whatever, you know. Because there are people out there like that. I'm not saying that I know people like that, but there are people out there like that that will go somewhere. But, you know, my biggest thing, in if I don't say anything else about events, one of the biggest take-backs that anybody can take from an event is always have people pre-register. And that's just, it's important in so many ways. And then Eric, would you like to add anything?
Yeah.
One thing I'll just quickly add is that, you know, some events are different than others. Our event is a networking event for industry professionals. And gosh, I hate to use the word professional. I'm the most unprofessional damn person you'll ever meet. All right. I like to have fun. I'd be right.
Industry and professional.
Our event is kind of set up more for like people within the industry already, like content creators, companies. Now, I'm going to mention Silencer Co. has a really cool suppressor event, and this is a great example. All right, so what they do is they get a bunch of machine guns, they get, you know, a bunch of their suppressors, put them on hosts, okay? And the general public can come to this range day. I think you pay like a $50 fee to get in. And then they have a bunch of demo guns set up on the line. You can go down the line and you can test out every single demo gun they've got. The $50 helps cover a little bit of their ammo cost, a little bit of course, the whatever fees that the range is going to charge, food, whatever else they want to provide. And then, yeah, they probably wind up making a few bucks. They might profit a bit, but what they really gain in profit is they sell suppressors. So like, you know, Joe Blow tests a suppressor, goes, wow, I really want this. They set up their kiosk, they take the money, they start the paperwork, everything goes on, and that's where they're really making their money, is demoing the products, and then people go, wow, I really want this, bam, they buy it. And then by the time the dust settles, it's cool. They've sold some cans, they've gotten their name out there, they've demoed some products, and they've at least covered the cost of their ammunition, food, and things like that.
That's cool. That's a great point. And I think it does a good job illustrating just how many options you have for this type of event, any event where you're working through like a promotion goal, right? Through interacting with the public or with industry partners or person to person, you know, interactions. I think there are a ton of options. So thank you guys so much for giving us a peek into your version of that. We really appreciate it. Any final thoughts, any shameless plugs, anything else that you would want to leave us with tonight, either one of you?
Go ahead, Brandy.
I don't know.
Look, at the end of the day, whatever you're doing, it just needs to be fun.
Yeah.
Right? People want to have fun. Yes, there's a business aspect to networking, right? It doesn't matter if you're Silencer Co. and you're putting on a silencer shoot. It doesn't matter if you're Eric and Brandy with Iraq Veteran putting on a industry shoot to get content creators and industry together. It doesn't matter if you're a gunsmith. All right, in SDI's situation, let's say you're a gunsmith and you're wanting to put on a shoot to showcase your awesome custom rifles you build. No matter what you do, have fun, right?
Yeah.
You're at the range, right? Don't be too
Absolutely.
scared. Just get out there and have a good time, and everything else will work itself out, and everything will happen. The universe will provide. All right.
Great note to end on. I truly appreciate it. Brandy and Eric, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being such great friends and partners of SDI as well for as many years as you've been. So awesome. And guys, I know you already know this, but these two people are amazing human beings and really great to interact with. So I highly encourage you to, if you don't already subscribe to any of their channels or interact with them in any way, if you get a chance to, please do. If you have any questions, you can, I'm assuming Eric and Brandy hit you guys up on the social media channels, etc., right? DM.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Same thing for SDI. If you have any questions, please feel free to utilize the website or marketing@sdi.edu if you have any feedback for this webinar or for any upcoming webinars. We do these on a monthly basis, so just kind of keep your eye out for all of that good stuff. And everybody, we really appreciate all of you in attendance as well tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for your interaction on the chats. And like I said, we hope to see you on subsequent webinars. So everybody have a fantastic evening. And thanks again to everyone involved. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Have a great night, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one. And look, guys, remember, you are an ambassador to the shooting sports, no matter what you do. Everywhere you go in life, you are an ambassador to this world. So always get other people involved in the shooting sports. It's really important to be active in this community because we are 110% thrown into a corner and treated like crap by all different facets of the mainstream media, the left. Without making this political, it's important. Don't think about it politically, but be an ambassador to the Second Amendment always.
That's a great point. We want to grow this industry and this community. So fantastic point and a great way to close out the evening, Eric. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. Talk to everyone soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.